Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, my name is Frida Rahmalia and I'm from Speaking B class and I'm here to present my research article review. So first, the title of the research article is Gaya Bahasa Fitzgerald dalam The Great Gatsby by Mashita Shukri, Herawati, and Sukmawati. And this research article was published in 2019 in a journal named Jurnal Ilmu Budaya, Hasanuddin University, Makassar. Okay, first, the introduction. The study is about a research to observe the language style often used in textual appearance in literary works, and the figures of speech function in mediating the variables to produce the language style of Fitzgerald's novels, which is The Great Gatsby. And the study is interesting because it discusses about language interpretation in literary work, which always bound with the aesthetics of language. Without the aesthetic of language, literary work becomes flat. And there are some key terms and their definition. The first one is analysis, which means the act of studying or examining something in detail in order to discover or understand more about it, or your opinion and judgment after doing this. Second is style. Style is the way in which the author uses language and choice of words to present his thoughts to the readers. And stylistics is a critical approach which uses the methods and findings of linguistic science. And then there is language style. Language style is the choice of words used by a specific group of people when they speak. And aesthetics itself is a set of principles concerned with the nature and appreciation of beauty, especially in art. And then there are some literature that is used in this article research. The first literature is the first main idea is language interpretation in literary work is always bound with aesthetics of language. Without the aesthetic of language, literary work becomes flat. And the evidence is in a literature by Clavo and Weber, which was published in 1998. Beautifulness in literary works built by the words arts, and those words and language arts manifest on special words comes from expression of soul. And then the second main idea is the author's style affects the manner how it is interpreted. Style also depicts author's personality, so that every author has his or her own style of writing. The evidence is on literature by Leach and Short that is published in 2007 describes style as characteristics of using language in writing prose, as pattern of linguistic features that distinguish one work from another through word choices. A number of studies have been done in language style. First is from Canet al. 2014, focused on stylistics analysis of the poem The Onset by Robert Frost. And then there is Hajam in 2014 in talk show context research about the language style used by Mario Teguh in his motivational pictures about love. And then there is Tavira, utilized the view of Roman Jacobson to investigate language style of direct text in the islands of Selayar, South Sulawesi province. And there is Poet, focused on language style used by President Jokowi in his inaugural speech. And the last one is Raharjo, was published in 2017, on language style used in line conversation. Well, those studies did not portray a specific kind of literary work such as novel, and therefore this research fills the gap by presenting the language style whose figures of speech can be seen in the Great Gatsby novel. This research also searched and analyzed the specific performance of Fitzgerald's language style in The Great Gatsby, which distinguished it from the previous studies. And let's move to methodology. First one is research design. First, this research applied a descriptive qualitative method to analyze the data and make a description about the language style used in Fitzgerald's novel The Great Gatsby, which is seen from its figures of speech categories. Descriptive qualitative method itself is a combination of descriptive and qualitative research involving data collection procedures that result primarily in open-ended or non-numerical data, and then it is analyzed by non-statistical methods. The source of the data itself is from the Great Gatsby novel written by F. Scott Fitzgerald, which was published in 1925, and this novel was published by Charles Scribner's Sons and consists of 193 pages and 9 chapters. And then there are the procedures of processing data. First, researchers or authors read the Great Gatsby novel comprehensively in order to understand the content of it. Second, they made written document which expressed the language style of the novel. Third, they identified the qualitative data according to the good elements of language style in terms of the figure of speech categories. And the last one, they classified the data based on the categories of language style in order to get appropriate information related to the topic. And here are the procedures of analyzing data. First, researchers or authors analyze the main data of the novel using stylistic approach proposed by Gavrilich and Mixer's theory. And second, they establish the categories of the findings related to the theory, namely stylistic approach. And the last one, they presented the data findings and drew the conclusion. Okay, so let's move to the findings from the Great Gatsby novel. The researchers or the authors have found some figures of speech, which is figures of comparison consisting simile, metaphor, and personification, and then figures of contrast containing irony, litotes, and hyperbole. And the last one is figures of association, which contains scenic tone. Okay, first, what is the definition of simile itself? So it's a comparison that is explicit and implies the same thing with another thing. The keywords are like, same, as, just as, and as if. And then the example in the Great Gatsby novel is the line, it was the kind of voice that the ear follows up and down as if each pitch is an arrangement of notes that will never be played again. So let me explain this. The symbol above evokes the reader's mind to cause special effect in the above sentence. Figure of speech found in the above sentence shows the comparison between two things. It was the kind of the voice that the ear follows up and down, and an arrangement of notes that will never be played again by using comparison words as if. So in this condition, the writer tells about that something has happened. Uh, this woman, her name is Daisy, and it is her cousin named Nick Carraway. So Nick asks some question, and she looks like hiding her family's condition by putting smile in all time when she speaks to him. So this is a unusual thing because the situation describes the condition around her cousin, and she is seriously unhappy. Okay, let's move to metaphor. Metaphor is a kind of analogy that compares two things in a short form. Next, personification. Personification is a kind of figure of speech that describes inanimate objects or goods lifeless as if it has characteristic humanity. Next is irony. Irony is a figure of speech that represents a particular kind of extended reference, extension in a direction opposite to the normal one. Next is hyperbole. Hyperbole is a figure of speech that contains an exaggeration. By exaggerating something or discuss style containing an overstatement. And next is litotes, a figure of speech consisting of an understatement in which an affirmative is expressed by negating its opposite. And the last one is synecdoche. Synecdoche is a figure of speech that consists of the use of a thing to stand for the whole of it or vice versa. Okay, so here is the discussion. First, the results of this research indicate that the language styles often used in textual appearance in literary works are figures of comparison, figures of contrast, and figures of association. The use of the styles confirm the categorization of the checklist of linguistics and stylistics, which had been made by Gabriel Leach and Mitch Short, and figures of speech by Vivian M. Jackson. And Chantilly in 2010 did similar research about stylistic in The Great Gatsby and used the same theory, but he uncovered this kind of figures of speech. Leo only chose three categories to be researched, and he did not choose the figures of speech categories. Therefore, this research fills that gap by presenting the language style whose figures of speech can be seen in the Great Gatsby novel. In the figures of comparison, Sewell mostly appear in the novel. This style is in the first rank because it appears 38 times from 67 data in the novel. And then the style is simple and interesting because it is used to persuade, influence the reader's attention, and give an artistic effect by describing another beautiful without simply saying the sentence. Thus, this kind of figures of speech could make the readers imagine and feel the beautifulness of literary work. Leach and Short stated that the style of an author conveys this relationship between uses of language and its artistic function. Most of data prove their statement is still effective, where the author chose the kinds of figures of speech to increase the artistic effect in the novel. And next move to in the figures of contrast, irony mostly appeared in the novel. This style is the first rank because it appears 15 times from 35 data in the novel. And this style is quite unique because it is useful to increase the reader's taste and persuade the readers, also increase the artistic effect, influence the reader's feeling and thought, and to emphasize the idea of the author by describing the contrast one without simply saying the sentence. Thus, these kinds of figures of speech could make the readers enjoy reading this novel. In the figures of association itself, this synecdoche, the researchers found that synecdoche is divided into two kinds, which are pars pro toto and totem pro parte. Synecdoche pars pro toto mostly appears in the novel. This style is in the first rank because it appears two times from three data in the novel. The use of this style is to increase the reader's taste, increase the artistic effect, and to emphasize the idea of the author. So he is Fitzgerald, which is the author of the Great Gatsby novel, and he lived his life as a romantic, equally capable of great dedication to his craft and reckless squandering of his artistic capital. Fitzgerald was a talented and perceptive writer. His writings are insightful and stylistically brilliant. His ability to choose words in telling a story could make the readers enjoy his literary works. Today, he is admired both as a social chronicler and a remarkably gifted artist. The Great Gatsby novel is a masterpiece that will be known and remembered from time to time. So, the first conclusion is the language styles that are often used in textual appearance of literary works are figures of comparison, figures of contrast, and figures of association. The function of the figures of speech in mediating the variables is to produce the language style of Fitzgerald's novel, which is described through its characters, characterization, setting of place, and social setting. Its function is also to increase the reader's taste, to persuade the readers, to increase the artistic effect, to clarify idea, to influence the reader's feelings and thought, and also to emphasize the idea of the author. Okay, so based on the conclusions before, the researchers expect that the similar research on language style will reach more in the future. It will be beneficial to show the importance of language style as a tool in interaction and communication. The researchers also hope to the next researcher who would like to conduct the same research could complete this research not only about the kinds of language style and its function, but also about how they use the language style and the context of the sentences. In addition, the next researchers are suggested to use different data and theory of language style. Okay, so that's all from my presentation today. Thank you for watching and cheerio!